All right, very excited to welcome in Cole Cubelic for ESPN and the SEC Network. Cole, appreciate you coming up to the dojo, joining us, my friend. As you know, I just ran up a flight of stairs in excitement because I don't trust the elevators right now. And y'all know me, that's a game I
A
will not
flight or
play.
how many flights?
9 flights.
Good for you.
Thank you. I
9
appreciate
Good
it.
for you.
I appreciate it. So more flights that are going out of airports right now.
Yeah,
But that's
I know.
another thing for another day. But speaking about elevators and who's raising their standards, Cole, everybody we've got up here, and I think it's something that's been talked about a lot of media days, is Alabama and Georgia are obviously the front runners in the East and the West, but it's kind of that tier underneath. You know, a lot of people are looking at A&M to break through. My brother David Cohn over here is big on Max Johnson going
Yep.
to
Ooh.
A&M with Jimbo, but you got Arkansas and Sam Pittman, who obviously they believe now you return both coordinators. Tennessee and Josh Heupel, who's the only thing going faster than Elon Musk and SpaceX right now. Who do you think is there a team out there you're looking at that maybe can make that jump and look like they're knocking at the door even a little bit?
I don't think there's a team. I think there's maybe 6 teams.
Hmm.
But you just kind of ran through it, Jake, and I've asked the question all week, who's the third best team in the league right
Yeah.
now? Right. I've gotten, I think, 7 different answers.
Yep, that same here.
And most have been Tennessee, which that's not going to be the one for me. I've got real question marks about Tennessee. The offense is what it is. We know they're going to be able to put up some points. Good receiving core. If somehow by some miracle Brew McCoy can keep it between the lines and actually play, they might be even better at receiver this year. I think tailback, tight end, running back are going to be fine. But I'm really worried about the defense.
Yeah.
Matthew Butler did a lot of dirty work last year. Nobody gives him any credit for what he did. You lose a couple of guys in the secondary that were essentially coaches on the field. I do like Jeremy Banks a lot. I think they have 2 ends that could be pretty good. But this is a defense that finished like 95th in total defense last year, and people just completely ignore it. You're not going to be able to always just outscore a bad
For sure.
defense. And can Josh Heupel sort of morph into a guy that knows when to protect his defense, protect his team, play different styles of football? We actually saw Leach do that last year.
Yep.
Leach kind of became a ball control offense, which is weird to see the air raid, but it be a ball control offense at times. We had the A&M game, like mid-third quarter. I remember I hit Tom and Jordan. I was like, they're playing possession right now.
Yeah.
This feels weird that they're doing that because we're used to seeing them push the ball down the field, go fast. They used almost no tempo this year, so I don't know if Tennessee can balance that out. I need to see it. South Carolina's a team that there's a lot that I like. I think Jaheim Bell's the most underrated player in the league. I think you add an elite quarterback talent to a team that did a lot of things well, and that's going to open up a lot of doors for them. Just the possibilities. It's very similar to last year when Heupel came to Tennessee, and a lot of people weren't for it. I said, here's what you need to know. You are now going to have opportunities. They'll throw the ball down the field. They're going to go faster. They'll run a lot more plays. So by default, you'll probably get 14, 17 more points a game.
Mhm.
We didn't realize the defense was going to be as bad as it was.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, there's things about Arkansas that I like. Ole Miss is a little more of a wild card, but that thing could work. Maybe. I mean, if Luke Altmaier or Jackson Dart are the guys, and Michael Trigg's really good at tight end, and you got a running back coming in from TCU that is apparently just all everything, even though I hadn't seen a lot of him. And they don't have the best offensive line returning in the league. People don't want to talk about it, but I mean, Nick Broker's really good. You get a kid from Western Kentucky that can play. You got some other veterans that can help. So Mississippi State, Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina. Who am I missing? A&M has a lot of pieces. And then there's LSU, who I think is the third most talented team in the league.
I agree with that.
If you're talking NFL guys in 2-3 years, that roster versus anybody not named Alabama, Georgia, they'll have more guys playing on Sunday. I don't know how it's going to look this year. I mean, I have no idea. So there's a ton of question marks. Unfortunately, that's going to be the cool part of the league. Because Bama and Georgia are going to win their division.
For sure.
But it's going to be really cool to see, okay, who separates. Somebody's going to go backwards.
They will.
Somebody's going to go backwards, whether it's Tennessee, Mississippi State. Auburn, I think, is kind of in flux with Missouri right there in the middle of, yeah, there's some things we like, maybe, probably not. We'll see. But somebody's going backwards, and somebody may extend. The bad part about it is, Jake, we're going to probably get to second week in November and have a bunch of 6 and 7 win teams, and people are going to say, "Oh, SEC's average."
That's exactly right.
And it's not going to be average. It's just going to be there's only 2 teams with double-digit wins, and everybody else cannibalize themselves.
Well, I got 3 teams going 4-4 in the league in the SEC West by themselves. I mean, I'm with you 100%.
Very
You know,
possible.
I look at Ole Miss, kind of what you're talking about with Mike Leach. Lane's kind of adjusted the tempo a little bit that he's gone as well. I think that had to do a little bit with the lack of depth on defense that they inherited with Ole Miss. I don't think DJ Durkin gets enough credit for what he did with the roster that they inherited with that defense. Michael Trigg, the kid from USC, is very, very intriguing to me. He's a big body. He's super athletic. He just got to be able to put it together. On the Tennessee front, you know, last year I was making a very similar point in that, you know, obviously Heupel going warp speed and stuff like that is great, but if you go out there and go 3 and out 3 times in a row, you've put your defense in a really bad situation, and they had no depth. So without a full deck still, in my opinion, on defense, even though I do have Tennessee going 5-3 in the league and finishing second in the East,
You mean like a quarter of a deck?
Yeah, literally a quarter of a deck, maybe
2 cards.
Yeah, that's exactly right, or maybe a poop deck, depending on how you look at it. But that's a little more Mike Leach's pirate ship.
Let me ask you this. I'll stop you right there because you brought up something that I've been saying, and I don't know. You'll get it. I don't know how many people do that. I try to explain it to on Radio Row. Because you brought up Tennessee's offense, and we had the bowl game.
Yes.
And so you're out there in the bowl game, and it's like explosive play, touchdown, explosive play, 3 and out, 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 explosive play, touchdown, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. When you don't have true balance,
it's killer.
You're going to be inconsistent, and you're going to vanish at some point in time. It's going to go away.
For sure.
Air raid, you look at any up-tempo offense, and I'm not going to say it's a one-trick pony, but what I mean when I say that, and I know you get this, is when you don't win with formations, personnels, motions, matchups. Now, some teams like Alabama and Georgia can just go win with guys. It doesn't really matter what they're running. But when you don't do those things and you need other things to create success, it's going to be able to be taken away.
For sure.
And I think what Tennessee does is they have to create space. That's why their receivers are lined up 6 inches from being out of bounds. And then they utilize that tempo to find space in the run game. Because if I just said balance, people would say, oh, with the run-pass ratio is 51-49.
Yeah.
It's not exactly what I mean. It's how they get to be able to run the football. And so that's what worries me about Tennessee is that it looks good for a while, and then it's like, poof, it's gone for a quarter or a half or 3 quarters. And you're just like, you can't overcome that in every game.
No, well, Cole, how frustrating you've been on the sidelines, and Cone, take it away from me after this one, but you've been on the sidelines, and how frustrating is it as a defensive guy if you go out there and you're going at warp speed, you just got to stop early, you get back on the sideline, hell yeah, high-fiving the coaches, then all of a sudden they're going as fast as they can, and it's 3 and out, but those 3 plays go so fast, it's like having 1 play off on the sideline. So you're constantly going back out on the field the whole time, and as a defense, I would see Tennessee sometimes last year, the defense would almost look a little deflated going into halftime because they were exhausted. They were out there running, and you're like, we're going to run so many plays on offense. Well, if you're going 2 plays, 70-yard touchdown, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 2 plays, 70-yard touchdown, that's great. You have 14 points, but you just ran really 14 plays in the quarter, and the defense has been out there for 50. So that keeps adding and adding and adding. And as a defensive coordinator, it would just drive me nuts to have to go into every week and say, guys, if we give up 35, we just have to give up 35. That's just a tough That's a tough mindset for me to have as a defensive guy and tell my guys that.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's go back to Auburn for 1 second here. Brian Harsin enters year 2, tumultuous offseason, but he weathered it. As an Auburn alum, what are your expectations for the Tigers this season?
I think it'll be better than most people believe. Now, the good news for Auburn is most people believe it'll be 4 or 5 wins. So, I mean, I think 7 is possible. I think 8 is a bit of a long shot, but I'm not going to completely rule it out. So you go to what you like. You have an experienced offensive line. You got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. Are EM going to the first round? No, but they played a lot of ball. You have multiple tight ends that can help. That's going to widen the surface. That's going to protect the offensive line a little bit. It'll help the run game, pass game. You have reliable target and Shanker. That helps your quarterbacks out. Forces defenses to play you a different way. You have a running back that's as good as anybody in college football. And you can ride him. You can lean on him. And you have a counterpunch with Jarquez Hunter.
Yeah.
So I think all that being said is really good. 2 quarterbacks with starting experience. The flip side of that would be if you have 2, you don't have 1. Okay, it's fair, but how many teams did we see last year in college football that needed that depth? Hell, Auburn was one of them. I mean, Nix goes out. You needed TJ Finley to try to carry you through the rest of the way of the season. So everybody's giving it to Zach right now. And I love his talent. He's got a ton of ability. Both the kids, in my opinion, have the same issue. They're Rob Dibble. They both have great fastball and have no off-speed pitch. Somebody's got to develop a changeup or a curveball, and on a 5-yard crosser, not throw it 107 miles an hour. Or on a flare to the back, you don't have to throw it as hard as you can. If that comes, one of them has a chance to be pretty good. TJ got all the reps in the spring. Zach couldn't go.
Okay.
So TJ was the #1 quarterback all of spring. That is massive at any position, especially at quarterback. And Brian told me he asserted himself in that room. He was the guy that held everybody accountable. He was getting people lined up. He was explaining protections. So I wouldn't count TJ Finley out of that just yet. I think he's still in it. Receiver is a massive question.
Yeah.
If they get one guy who can just be a B- guy, I think the offense has a chance to be pretty good because they're going to run the stretch play this year. They couldn't run it last year. I don't really know why they couldn't figure it out, but they didn't do it. But that'll be better this year, and that's going to open up a ton. Bootlegs, heavy play action, shot plays, it'll help all that. Defensively, Colby Wooden can line up everywhere. You got Hall and Ike Leota off the edge. They'll help give you some pass rush. Jason Jones, the Oregon kid they need because he's the only SEC-looking interior defensive lineman they have. Like, he's the only Gerard Warren, Marcus Stroud, Derek Brown looking guy that Auburn has. They got to have him. And Brumbaugh loves him, but he's just got to come on. I think there's good numbers in the secondary, guys that have played different places that you can mix match. You know, Nehemiah Pritchett, Donovan Kaufman, they've all played a lot of football. That's going to help. So first 5 games big.
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
have to be no less than 4-1 in the first 5 to
And
build
that
the
was
confidence.
on par
rack
with
up
your
some games.
prediction for them. And something that I tell these guys about Zach Calzada is he does have a win over Alabama, which is nice to have on the resume if you're going to play quarterback.
There's
at
just not
Auburn.
many kids that have.
I know.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
exactly
true.
right. And it's so nice to hear somebody else use a pitching analogy like I do all the time when
Yeah.
talking about quarterbacks. That's why we talked to Cole Cubelic and Owen Peppo coming back is huge as well.
Huge.
From leadership.
Hey, little Florida Gators right here. Billy Napier in his first year. Do you think, as in, people are underselling Florida in this first year? Could Florida sneak up on somebody this first year and maybe compete for the East?
Compete for the East, no. Sneak up on people, yeah. Because I sat with their quarterback yesterday, asked him how much he weighed, 240.
Whew.
I asked him what he's running. He said 4.4s. I said, what's the first year of throwing the ball? I saw the video from the Manning Passing Academy. He said 75 yards. I mean, honestly, guys, that he may have more talent than any quarterback on this planet. I mean, it's a legitimate discussion to be 6'5.5", 240, can run, even if it's 4.499.
Mhm.
It's pretty damn good and can throw the ball 75 yards in the air. That offense needs to push people. They don't have guys that can push people. The tight end got decimated by transfer portal and the kid had a career-ending injury. They don't have that position. Billy's going to want that position. I do like Osiris Torrance coming over from Louisiana. He can play guard. He'll help a little bit, but they're not going to be physical enough to do exactly what he wants to do. The good news is I think Anthony's a really good fit for that offense. They'll run stretch play, 2 tight ends. They'll boot off of it. They'll take shots. So that can be something that gets going. I like their front on defense. They're inconsistent, but Kevon Dexter should be coming on. I'm not going to sit here and tell you a kid that weighs 420 is going to play a lot of reps, but he can give you a few good snaps. Brenton Cox can get to the quarterback. So, yeah, they have ability, and I think they could surprise a team or two because that group of coaches can coach.
Yeah.
But they don't have many guys, which is just weird to say about Florida.
It's the
Like,
weirdest
weird.
thing ever.
And one of my biggest concerns, skill positions.
Which is even
I mean, it's-
weirder to
They don't
say.
have a ton of backs and receivers that are proven that I've seen play that I say, that guy can get it. Just don't have them.
You know, I do want to ask you, obviously, we're at SEC Media Days, but Cole, kind of looking at the landscape, and obviously Ohio State and Ryan Day, we know how talented they are. Clemson trying to look, it's funny, a resurgence after winning 10 games. I mean, if you'd have told Clemson fans that 8 years ago, they'd have shook your hand and cried in front of your face. But when you look outside there, Brent Venables at Oklahoma to me, and I asked, I'm trying to remember, I don't think it was Pollock or Peter Burns that asked this, but I'm starting to notice whether it's Dan Lanning going to Oregon. I know Mario was at Oregon before, and it went from Chip Kelly, we're just going to be pretty and do what we do, to we're going to hit you in the face and knock your teeth through the back of your throat up front. I'm starting to notice that some of these other places are tending to hire coaches that are a little bit more defensive minded, but more of a balanced approach to the team, other than, like you said, with Tennessee, we're just going to outscore you because these teams have tried that. Lincoln Riley tried it at Oklahoma. You can get to the playoff, but you will not win a national championship by just having an offense that is trying to outscore everybody and the defense being absolutely horrible. I mean, even 2019 LSU with Joe Burrow and all them, the defense wasn't the best it ever was, but it was good enough. 2020 Bama with Mac and them. So do you see a little bit of a shift on some of these schools that were pure offense, we're hiring an offensive guy, to maybe saying, hold on, we're looking at who's winning the Natty, and this is kind of a more balanced approach?
I think you're giving athletic directors too much credit.
You think it's coincidental?
No, it's not coincidental, Jake. I just think that they're hiring names and name recognitions, and they're hiring reputation. So if they get a guy that they think can recruit, that they've been around a program that knows how to win, and they have the personality to go get guys and motivate and then coach. Because let's be honest, there's a lot more that goes into it than just X's and O's right now.
100%.
I think that's what they look for, and I think that's what they get intrigued with, and that's what they fall in love with. So I don't think that they'd probably be mad to hear me say this. I don't think many ADs are looking at like, okay, how balanced is your game? Are you going to put your defense in jeopardy? Okay, let's hire that guy. I just don't think they put that much thought into it.
We'll take over the whole thing.
I'm not sure I want that job right now.
I don't. That's facetious.
I just don't think they put that much into it. I think they need to make their, and unfortunately, it's like you go back to Mal Moore. Mal Moore said, I want football people making football decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, right now, we got a lot of business people making football decisions.
That's exactly
But they have to, because we're having attendance problems. You're about to have to start finding other revenue streams, because all the ADs are pushing money to the collectives, and that means you're not getting facilities money, you're not getting upgrades, you're not getting new stadiums. So you almost have to be that guy, which to me should probably bring up a new position, as in like almost co-ADs, where we have a business AD and we have an athletics AD. And some guys are great at both. Some guys are great at one. But I just don't think that much thought is going into that. I think they want a name. I think they want recognition. I think they want resume and somebody that the fans are going to get excited about.
My last question for you, Cole, and if you guys got another one, just throw it in there. Here with Cole Cubelic from the SEC Network. The NCAA, it was just reported, has recommended that there be no one-time transfer rule, that anybody can transfer anywhere at any point in time. I was a player's coach. I love the players. I know it's about the players. But that is true free agency. And I know the on-the-field product is going to be great regardless, because the athletes are faster and bigger than they've ever been. But we talk about NIL, and some people, look at that a certain way. If you let anybody transfer anywhere they want every year with no repercussions at all, that to me is going to start to destroy somewhat how
It's
you
not
build
free
a
agency.
culture.
Free agency, you have to wait to become a free agent.
True.
I mean, you can't sign a 10-year
Well,
deal.
NIL deal, are now NIL deals going to be like, well, you got to stay here 3 years. If you leave, you lose it.
That's how they're writing them. Is that
I mean,
they don't have the school's name on them, but they have geographically based things that those kids have to do. So
Travel bans.
one of those lawsuits is coming soon on a kid that transfers.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to say, you have to be in Homewood, Alabama for this appearance, this appearance, this appearance over the next 3 years. And he's going to transfer to Oregon, and he's not going to be able to do it, or he's going to spend a ton of money flying back to do them. So it's gross. When you brought it up, the first thing that popped into my brain is it's gross, and I hate it. It's and I'm for player freedom, and I'm for player rights. But if you want to go that far with it, don't play college football.
Yeah.
If you don't like rules, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that frustrates me, are the people who go way out with the player rights and player protection, and they should have all this freedom. Nobody's making you do
That's
it.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Nobody's making you play college football, man. So if you hate it that much, go do something else.
Yeah.
So there are circumstances with everything that we do. I mean, I do a radio show every morning. If I decide I want to start dropping F-bombs one day, I'm fired.
For sure.
But then I could say, well, I thought I had freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't.
Yeah.
The FCC says you can't say that, so you're gone. And that's the part that bothers me. And we're getting away from continuity. We're getting away from chemistry, from team building. And there are always circumstances. So, yeah, you're third string quarterback. You're not going to play. You can go play somewhere else. Okay, cool, go play.
Head coach leaves.
Head
Go
coach
somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you're a 4-3 defensive end, and you get a new coordinator that runs a 3-4. I don't need to be here,
Yeah.
man. I'm not going to be on the field very much. Okay, cool. I'm a tight end. We're bringing in Leach. Why am I here?
Yeah.
I get it. We all understand that and have no problem with that. Family circumstances, of course. And when I saw that release today, I was like, oh, good. Transfer windows. Oh, hell. Anytime?
Yeah.
It just does not make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. And I agree with you. Just don't play then.
The door doesn't have to be wide open on everything.
No, I'm with you.
We can have guardrails.
Well,
on
there are
some-
rules. I mean,
why do we even have out of bounds?
yeah, that's exactly right.
Throw a screen in the stands and just let the kids run. And go. I mean, like, why is the width of the field goal not the width of the entire field? Like,
For sure.
Make it 53 yards
Wow.
wide, and these kids will never miss a kick.
It's
There can be rules and it not be unfair.
Yep.
that's a great.
That's the part that I just don't
Or
understand.
That's a great point.
exploitation. You know, like, I'd love to hear that answer from you because I was a longtime proponent of NIL because it had nothing to do with the school. Like, I went to the University of Michigan. If my South Georgia town where there's a car dealership wanted to have me in a commercial, like, I should have been able to do that and it not involve the university. But in practice, what it is just another version of pay for play. So I love, because we were talking with David Pollock and I said there has to be something in the middle between being completely exploitation in college athletics, but at the same time avoiding the chaos that we have now. I think maybe even like a true minor league system for the NFL, sort of like what the G League does with basketball. Obviously, it's harder because you need more players to field a team. But when I get pushback on that would hurt college football because the best players would no longer go to the universities we love. I don't see it that way, because if you're a kid and you have a mindset that a university and education is exploitation, then just don't do it. Go take $100,000 to go to a minor league system. In the years that LeBron James went straight from high school to the NBA, it didn't make March Madness less interesting for me. So
well, it's interesting because when I did the XFL last time around.
I forgot about that.
I had a conversation with Oliver Luck, and he shared with me that he and Vince McMahon had been talking about, would we offer a high school kid? And if we went to a 5-star high school kid that kind of didn't really want to play college football because it was college, and we offered him $150 a year, $200 a year, 3-year contract, would he take it? And if he did, how much negative feedback would we get? And I'll be honest, Jake, I told him straight up, I said, I think you should do it.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't care what happens with the kid. The publicity for the league is going to be off the charts. That's us. That's all we're going to talk about. Like, oh, it's just going to ruin college football.
Yep.
How many kids are going to do this? The difference now is it's like when Alabama came through the other day, and somebody tweeted me, and Bryce had his Christian Louboutin sneakers. They're like, Cubelic, you got to step your shoe game up. Bryce makes more money than me.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a negative way at all, but like that kid has more money than I do. So it would not be more lucrative, but if you don't want to play school and you think it's unfair, go play in the XFL, go play in the USFL until you can get to the league and figure it out that way.
Man, I think that's a great point. Well, Cole, I appreciate you joining us, brother.
Absolutely.
It's always great. One of the best guys to follow when it comes to anything, especially college football. Let's do it again soon.
We will.
Make sure you subscribe.
If you like that content, go ahead and subscribe, because we're going to be balling every day on Crain and Company. Hit that like button while you're at it, and go ahead and smash it like Derrick Henry on an ISO run.